Okay, today we're going to start on Tes Vav Amud Beis, correct? Right in the middle of the page, Micah Miflagi. That's 15b. Yeah, Ramesh, does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm not looking inside, but that makes sense.
Okay. So, thank Hashem that they're able to learn Torah every day. Supposed to be learning, we should have the basic Mikdash immediately. And we're learning for Refuah Shleima for my father, and also for Tali Ben Bela. Okay, we had a machlekes before between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Yeah, don't worry. Your Zoom was on, so I turned mine on, and this is your phone, right? Whose phone is this? I guess. Oh, okay. So I turned it off because I was hearing myself talk. Okay. Okay, so we had a machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish regarding very interesting thing. When you have a lav hanitik, let's say, when you have a negative prohibition that's followed by a positive rectification of that prohibition. So at what point will the person receive lashes? Because the positive rectification takes off, the positive command takes off the lashes. So Rabbi Yochanan said only if bitlay v'lay bitlay, only if he annulled, only if he negates ever fulfilling the positive command. Because he has to do an action that will not allow him to ever fulfill that command. David, I turned off your phone. I turned off your Zoom because it turned on when I turned mine on. So I was hearing myself. Sorry. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Just if you want to go back on Zoom, you have to turn it on. So that's Rabbi Yochanan's opinion. Rish Lakish's opinion is no. Rish Lakish's opinion is that once he neglects doing the positive command, the first time he has an opportunity to, he automatically gets the lashes. There was a difference between bitlay v'lay bitlay or kimay v'lay kimay, right? Talking about the case that we gave yesterday was the Ines person rapes a girl, he has to keep her. If he divorces her, then he violates the negative prohibition. Then he has to marry her back for the positive command. So if he marries her back, then he doesn't get the lashes. If he doesn't marry her back, 1 second, he has the rest of his life to marry her back. So Rish Lakish says he gets lashes immediately. Once he has that opportunity in Besdin to marry her back and he doesn't, he was loy kima, he didn't fulfill it, they give him lashes right now. And Rabbi Yochanan says no, he has to take a vow on public consensus that he's not going to marry her back, and then he can't marry her back, and that's when he's going to get the lashes. Otherwise, we'll say, well, he's going to do the rectification of that negative prohibition sometime later, and we can't get the lashes. That was the machlekes so far. Now the Gemara says, "My kamiflagi, what are they arguing about? They're arguing about is basra safek kamiflagi. They're arguing about when he gets the warning before he commits the violation. He gets a warning. If you continue through with this, you're going to get lashes. But let's say they don't know if he's going to get lashes. So they have to give what's called hasra safek. You may get lashes. When will he get lashes? If he doesn't fulfill the positive command that follows the negative. That's when he's going to get lashes. So every time they warn him, it's really a safek. It's a safek. But right now, I see what you're about to do. You're about to divorce this woman that you're not allowed to divorce because you have to remain married to her. Now, if you continue through with this, you might get lashes if later on you don't marry her back. So it's all asra safek.
When someone does a mitzvah, they get credit for the mitzvah. I'm sure this is true. On says, like that person then regrets, like said, oh, I should have never done
That
this.
was the Gemara Kedushin. Yeah.
So
Right.
is this kind of like similar where this person says, oh, I'm never going to do this mitzvah? So then that's when he becomes liable?
No. This is called the Lavanitic Lessay. It's a negative prohibition that the Torah says, what do you do if you did this? Then you follow up with that. So if you left the meat overnight, then you burn it, right? The next day. You don't get lashes because the Torah tells you how to rectify it. So that's, if you negate ever doing that rectification, then it becomes a regular negative prohibition. You can't rectify it with the possible. So that's the yeah. So the B'mai Kamifki, Basra Safik Kamifki, we're talking about the machlekes really between Rabbi Yechon and Reish Lakish is regarding Asra Safik. If you're going to take, if the person is warned in a way of doubt, if that's considered a real warning, you might end up getting lashes. Mar Savar Rabbi Yechon it's Asra Safik Shmei Asra, that it's considered a good warning. Mar Savar Asra Safik Shmei Asra. No, I have to explain this a little bit deeper. Rashi. This is like spectacular explanation. He says, what's really happening here is that there's a machlekes Rabbi Yechon and Reish Lakish regarding when is the prohibition actually violated. According to Rabbi Yochanan, the positive command, like the negating of the positive command, is the conclusion of violating the negative prohibition. I have a negative prohibition not to leave the meat overnight, but then I have the positive command to burn it in the morning. So until I don't burn it in the morning, I still haven't fully violated the negative prohibition, because it's like a package.
While you have the opportunity.
When you still have the opportunity, you're still part of the negative prohibition. You're not finished the negative prohibition. So therefore, according to Rabbi Yochanan, when you get a warning at the beginning, you still didn't finish the violation yet. So it's Asra Safik. Maybe I'm not really going to fully violate this because later on I'm going to rectify it. So every time you get the warning, you're only getting a warning on the first part of the, someone's going down the road, goes to, but you may be going the wrong way. He says, no, but there's another fork somewhere else that maybe that will correct. So I'm not really going the wrong way. So here the negative prohibition is not fully violated until the positive prohibition is negated entirely. So therefore it's Asra Safik. Now, just 1 second. Now, Reish Lakish, on the other hand, he says something different. He says you violated already the negative prohibition once you violate it. It's over. It's finished. Positive, that's just in place of the Makkos. Could have gotten lashes. Instead of the lashes, you rectify it another way. So there's two ways of looking at what the positive command does after the negative prohibition. Is it the conclusion of the negative, or is it a rectification of instead of the punishment? So according to Reish Lakish, it works like this. Look at this. According to Reish Lakish, it's not Asra Safik. Every time he's warned, there's only one act here of the prohibition. That's the negative prohibition. There's only one act. He violates it immediately. There's a positive that could rectify. No, the positive doesn't rectify the negative. The positive is just in place of the punishment. Instead of getting the Makkos, he does the positive command, right? Restitution type of thing.
Is there a difference with the warnings? If it's like a warning before the person does something like logic is, and then the warning while the person is doing the act. Like if a person is like gathering Shabbos, he was already gathering, and someone sees him at once, rather than he's going to gather and someone says, "Oh, that's not allowed." So
No, that's the same thing. He has to be warned right before he commits the act. If he's in the middle of the act, he has to be warned right before he continues doing the prohibition. It doesn't matter. It's always before the prohibition. Right now, you may be asking a deeper question. Maybe we could warn him before he negates the positive command, according to Rabbi Yochanan. That's a Tosfos discussion, but I don't want to get into that. Yeah.
So you do tshuva right away.
Yeah, when it comes to the court, it doesn't matter. If it comes to heaven, the tshuva helps, not in the court.
For example, if you do the blessing meal at 3 a.m.
You're good. You're good. You're good. Yeah. They have the whole night to say the blessing.
GPS, like it tells you to go one direction, then recalculate. That's like the
Recalculate.
correction.
Exactly. Recalculate. Okay, Vazdila Tamaya. So in order for Rabbi Yochanan to ever have a Malkus here, you have to accept that Asra Safik is going to be a good Asra. Even though it's a doubt, a warning of a doubt is still going to be good. According to Rish Lakish, you don't have to accept that. You can say that only a definite warning is a real warning. So how does he get lashes over here? Because this is a definite warning. There's only one prohibition and he violated it. There's a positive. That has nothing to do with the prohibition. That's something else. That has to do with the rectification of something. They follow their reasoning. The Itmarkas was stated as follows. If someone takes an oath that I'm going to eat this loaf of bread today, he took did I say an oath? He swears that he's going to eat this loaf of bread today. And then the day passed and he didn't eat it. Well, Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish, like both Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish say there's no lashes for that. Why? Why is there no lashes? Rabbi Yochanan, like, I'm sorry? They violated the oath. Oh, they say oath? Oath is a swear. Okay. I'm thinking of a vow. Okay. Oath is and swear is the same thing. Okay. So Rabbi Yochanan says, why doesn't he get lashes? They each have their own reason. There's no lashes for this probe, but they each have their own reason why. Rabbi Yochanan like mishum dahavilav shem b'mais, because you didn't do an action. You took an oath that you're going to do something, but then you didn't follow through. So you don't get lashes for that because that was passive. You just didn't do it. You only get lashes for an action, according to Rabbi Yochanan. Kolav shem b'mais ain't like in the love. Rish Lakish says, ain't like mishum daviasras safek. The reason why he doesn't get lashes is because when they warned him, you better eat that or else you're going to violate the oath. He says, I'll do it later. So the warning was never concrete. It said, you're going to get lashes if you continue. No, he always had a way out where the warning is never a real warning. Yeah. But violations on Yom Kippur. I'm not. You're back in the tshuva camp. I'm not talking about the tshuva. I'm talking about. They told him that let's say he took an oath that he's going to eat. Right? They told him if you don't eat it, you don't eat this, you're going to violate your oath. He says, "Oh well, You're asking such a good question. That David is asking that it's always Asra Safik because you can annul the oath. That's a very deep question. The Gemara doesn't get into that. That's a different question. Leave that alone. Let's ignore that in this. We're talking about that he has more time, and the reason why it's Asra Safik is because he has more time there's more time to fulfill the oath. So when they warned him back in the morning at 9 a.m., they warned him, better eat today because you took an oath that you're going to eat today. So he says, well, I have until 9 tonight. So it's all Hasra Safik. So Rish Lakish says the reason why he doesn't get warned is because of Hasra Safik. Now, the problem is with this, there's 3 variables. Okay? There's 3 variables. One is you don't get lashes by something that's a lav hanitik lasei. There's a positive command that follows. All right? There's another variable. You don't get lashes if there's no action. If it's passive, there's no lashes. There's only lashes if it's active. And not speech, right? The next one is you don't. The next variable is you don't get lashes if it's asra saf. It's a doubt. Now the last two, action or versus passive, active versus passive, or asra safik if there's a doubt, that's a machlekes Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. So when I have a case that contained both of them, because he took a vow that he's going to eat today, and he didn't eat. So there are two things here. First of all, when he got warned, it was asra safik. Second of all, when he was warned, or nothing to do with warned. Second of all, it was a passive violation, not an active violation. So Rabbi Yochanan says the reason why there's no lashes here is because of it was passive, because he holds that the problem with the warning was not a problem, because he holds asra safik is considered a real asra, it's a real warning. Rish Lakish on the other hand says the reason over here was because of the warning. But when it comes to the action, Rish Lakish actually holds that you get malchus even for passive violation. Okay.
If the oath involves just you, or involves you and somebody else, where they're
I don't think so. Because the person is the one that we're dealing with. We're dealing with this individual. Well, both of them are arguing in a according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. It's based on Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Lai. He was a student of Rabbi Akiva, and he has this opinion, as we're going to see. The Tanya was taught in a brayso of Leisir Menad Baker. You're not allowed to leave over the meat of the korban Pesach until the morning. You have to eat it that night, right? You only have one night to eat it. And then the pasuk says, "V'anaisir Menad Baker," and anything that's left over until the morning is burnt on the following day. That's a positive command. Rabbi Yehuda says that why does the pasuk tell you the rectification, the positive command? It's coming to make it a lav hanitik lasei. It's going to be a negative prohibition that's attached, followed up by a positive. And therefore, there's no lashes. Let's say the Torah didn't follow it up with a positive command. What would happen? Then there would be lashes. Now, 1 second. How would there be lashes here? I have two other variables. First of all, it's passive. You're not eating something, and that's a violation. It's not that you ate non-kosher. You didn't eat the meat. You left it over. That's passive. And the second variable is that when he got warned, don't leave it over. He says, no, I still have more time. So it's asra safik. So now comes along in that statement of Rabbi Yehuda that says the reason why the Torah tells me that there's a lavanitic, let's say that it's followed up by a positive command, is to tell me that there's going to be no lashes here. But if not for that, then there would be lashes. That means that there's two other options here, which would tell me that there would be lashes by two other things. Take a look at this. Rabbi Yochanan derives from it. He deduces from it. Time of the Makkos. What's the reason why it's a lavanitic lessay? What's the reason why there's no lashes? Because lavanitic lessay. But if it wouldn't be a lavanitic lessay, like it, you would get malchus. Yeah, but what about asra safik? How was he warned? Alma, I see from this asra safik shmei asra, that even though it's a doubt, it's still considered a warning. Rish Lakish looks at it a little different. He says, time of the Makkos. The reason why there's no lashes over here is because the pasuk has a positive command that follows the negative. It's called the lavanitic lesi. But if I wouldn't have that like it, then you would get malchus. Alma lav shem by my obviously, a passive violation incurs malchus, incurs lashes. That's why the Torah has to tell me that there's a positive command, no, you don't get lashes. So each one is deriving from Rabbi Yehuda their opinion, right?
It's a case like this, like, okay, like I don't eat it today, they burn it tomorrow. It seems like it's like not as like the punishment is a lot less. You know, like you just burn the meat just to flash.
Whatever the case is, that's the rectification of this prohibition.
But it has nothing to do with making fortunes. Like,
It's called the Lavanitic blessing. Someone steals, returns, it says return the item that you stole. Right? Over there, maybe he gets lashes also. Even though he returns. No, I think if he returns it, he doesn't get lashes. We'll see later on the Gemara. Returns it, so he rectified the. But the lashes would be a more severe punishment. Okay, but the Torah says return it.
but if he did it on his own, then he just returns it. Like if they would take him to court, whatever penalty, double.
Yeah, but that's Kneva. That's if he. That's fever. Okay. Okay, this is an obvious question that the Gemara is about to ask, but meanwhile, let's leave it at this. And the question that when the Gemara asks it, Rish Lakish. Here's the Gemara that follows up. Rish Lakish Nami Havadi Asra Safiku. See, when you're doing this, they do a scientific experiment. So you have to take away all other variables to get your result. Otherwise, it could have been from one of those other variables. So what happened over here is that we have 3 variables, which becomes very unscientific, because Rabbi Yochanan says, you know why this needs to be a lavanitic lessay to not to get malchus, because if not for a lavanitic lessay, then it would be asra safek, and asra safek gets malchus. But there's one other variable here. Other variable is that it's passive, and you won't get malchus anyway, according to Rabbi. Unless you say that you do get malchus for passive. Well, comes along Rish Lakish and says, you know why it needs to be a lavanitic lessay in order not to get malchus? Because otherwise it would be a passive act, which a passive act gets malchus. But according to Rish Lakish, 1 second, it's also asra safek, which doesn't get malchus. So each one is missing out on an important factor, but you can't derive that until you negate the other one. This is not. It says Rish Lakish Nami Havadi Asra Safek. How could Rish Lakish say that there would have been malchus here if not for it being a lavanitic lessay? Talking about the meat left over till the morning, you can rectify it by burning it the following day. He says, if not for that, there would be malchus. See, passive violations get malchus, but hasra safek, that doesn't get malchus. 1 second, this is a case of hasra safek, so you don't get malchus anyway. So the Gemara explains, he's not accepting fully Rabbi Yehuda, he's only accepting half of Rabbi Yehuda. There's another opinion of Rabbi Yehuda where he accepts something else. The Tanya was taught in the Brisa. Yeah, you wanted to ask on that?
I was wondering, so if it wasn't set up the way it is, like there would be like no rectification, because like it doesn't align with there. Or
here's a case of lavanitic lessay, so there's no malchus if he leaves the meat over. What would be theoretically if it wasn't a lavanitic lessay? Would there be malchus? So both of them say no, there'd be no malchus, but each one has his own reason, and he says he proves it. His reason from the fact that it needed to be a lavanitic lessay, but you can't prove it from that unless you accept both reasons. You can't just accept one of those reasons. Okay. The Tanya was started in a Brisa. Let's say there's a boy that was born, his mother got married before 3 months of separation from her first husband. She got married to a second husband. So now there's a question, there's a child, she's pregnant now, 9 months after the death of the first husband, 7 months after the new marriage, she now has a child. The question is, who's the father of this child? Is it the first husband or is it the second husband? They didn't do DNA testing back then, and they said the boy's a suffix. We don't know who his father is. Now there's a rule that if someone hits his father, he gets a death penalty. So this boy hits the first father. possible potential, and then he hits the second one.
All
It covers all bases, right? Or kilo he can't curse his father. Also, same prohibition, same punishment.
Can't do it by which father he looks like.
No, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Hika shneim v'asachas, like kilo shneim v'asachas chayev. If he, or if he hits both of them together in one go, they're both standing together. Whack both of them. So it has to let blood. So then chayev. Then he's chayev. Now you see, this is a very interesting. What's happening here is because before he hit the first father, he gets a warning. So if you hit him, you're going to get the death penalty. You're hitting your possibly your father. That's asra suffix because it may not be the father. If it's both together, if you hit them, then that's asra vadai. That's definite. One of them is going to be, so they can warn him definitely. But if it's asra suffix because he's only hitting one, then later he hits the other one and they warn him again for that one, but also that one it's only asra suffix. So each one is only a suffix. So the first opinion says asra suffix is a real asra, and therefore he's going to get the death penalty. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Only if he hits them both fathers together, he's going to be chayiv. But then he's going to be pater. If it's one after the other, he's going to be pater. So Rish Lakish says, I have a statement from Rabbi Yehuda that says asra suffix is not a real asra. So I get from Rish Lakish gets from the leaving the meat over that he gets from leaving the meat over that's followed by a positive command that's a labanetic lessa. He gets from that there really would be Makkos even if it would be a passive act. I mean, it's a lab shein b'maisa. It still is Makkos. Where does he get that asra suffix is not good? Asra suffix, a warning of a doubt is not good. That he gets from another source when it comes to hitting the doubtful father. Rabbi Yochanan Nami Avadei Lav Shem B'Maisa. Rabbi Yochanan also has to hold that it's a Lav Shem B'Maisa. Avadei Lav Shem B'Maisa, and there has to be Makkos by a Lav Shem B'Maisa. He says no. Savalaki Had Amar Rabbi Di Barav and Amar Rabbi Yitzchak and Rabbi Yochanan. He holds like another source that Rabbi Yehuda and Mishim Rabbi Seglili. Rabbi Yehuda says name Rabbi Seglili. We'll get clear as we finish this Gemara. If a clear statement from Rabbi Yehuda, the name of Rabbi Seglili, that if there's an action, then there's Makkos. An action gets lashes. No action, no Makkos. Active, lashes. Passive, no lashes. Chutz, there are exceptions to this. In a nishba, someone that takes an oath. Umeimar, someone that does tumura. Tumura is he exchanges one sacrifice for another. And someone that curses his friend with the name of Hashem. Okay, now 2 points we need to discuss. First of all, one is the point that Rashi points out. First, let's just say about the Gemara says, and then we'll go through the Rashi. See it over there. It's going to be some value. What our Gemara just did for us is our Gemara said that you have Machlekes, Rabbi Yochanan, and Rish Lakish regarding negative prohibition when there's lashes. There's 2 points. Rabbi Yochanan says that there's going to be lashes if it's asra suffix, even if the warning was done in a doubtful way, still going to be lashes. However, Rabbi Yochanan says that if it's a passive act, there's no lashes. Rish Lakish says exactly the opposite. He says there's lashes even if it's passive, but if the warning is done in a way of a doubt, then there's going to be no Makkos. Now, each of them derive that from the Karban Pesach. If it's left overnight, you shall not leave it overnight. But if you leave it overnight, then you burn it the following day, and there's no lashes there. So they say, Why is there no lashes there? Because it's a labanetic lase. But if it wouldn't be a labanetic lase, then each one jumps in and says, you know why there would be lashes? See, because it's Asra Safik. And you see this lashes by Asra Safik. Rish Lakish jumps in and says, you know why there would be lashes? Because it's a passive act. And you see a lab shame by Maisa gets lashed. Okay. Now the Gemara asked that, but 1 second, I need both of those in order for there to be lashes. So he said, yeah, right? Because I need both variables to be. I mean, it's why are there no lashes? Because labanetic lase. But the other two reasons, there should be lashes. But each one doesn't accept the other two reasons, so it only accepts one of those other reasons. So what are you telling me that they're accepting Rabbi Yehuda, they're following Rabbi Yehuda, they have to follow Rabbi Yehuda fully. They're only accepting half of it. So they say each one has another source, another Rabbi Yehuda, which they're using that Rabbi Yehuda to explain the other half that they didn't accept from this. So Rish Lakish uses Hasra to get Hasra Safik is not it's not good. He gets that from someone hits his father. That he's not sure if it's his father because there were two fathers and 3 months apart. So over there, if he hits one and then he hits the other one, so that's considered Hasra Safik. So you see, and Rabbi Yehuda says that there's no lashes. Only if he hits them both together. So Rabbi Yehuda, Rish Lakish accepts Rabbi Yehuda from the Karban Pesach to tell me Lav Shein by Maisa is Malkus, and he accepts the Rabbi Yehuda about the hitting the doubtful father that Asra Safik is not considered Asra. And Rabbi Yochanan, he says, I have another statement for Rabbi Yehuda that Zeh Klal, any time where it's a Lav Shein by Maisa, there's no Malkus except for the following. So he has another Rabbi Yehuda that to fill in for the missing part that he didn't get from the first Rabbi Yehuda. That's the Gemara. Now the Gemara is about to ask, what do you do with Rabbi Yehuda? I can get Rabbi Yochanan can accept half of opinion and another half, but Rabbi Yehuda himself can't say contradictory things. So what does we do? That's the Gemara's follow. Okay, before we get to that, Rashi points out over here something interesting. He says, in the statement of Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Yossi Aglili that says that Zeh Klal, any negative prohibition that's done passive doesn't get malchus except for an oath. There's 3 exceptions: an oath, tamura, exchanging a sacrifice, and cursing his friend. There's lashes for that. The Gemara Tamura discusses this at length based on verses. But Rashi said, 1 second, we had a Gemara earlier today where we said someone took an oath that I'm going to eat today this loaf of bread, and he doesn't eat it. So it's Machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish why he doesn't get lashes. Rabbi Yochanan says he doesn't get lashes because of Lav Shein B'Maisa, and Rish Lakish says he doesn't get lashes because that's Asra Safik. That was the Gemara earlier. 1 second, we said that's an exception to the rule. Lav Shein B'Maisa, you do get lashes. Rashi says there's 2 types of oath. One type of oath is saying that I take an oath that I'm going to do something, which is amazing, and I don't do it. I'm going to do something which I violate by not doing, which I violate by passing. But a future oath, he says that is considered a lav shein b'maisa. But if I took an oath about something that I did in the past, if I say achalti, that I ate, and I really never ate, that's a lav shein b'maisa. The lav shein b'maisa says my words, I swore falsely, right? I swore falsely. That's even though there's no action in that swear, it's just verbal. It's right, but nevertheless, that's considered enough to get lashes. Lav shein b'maisa gets lashes. So that's Rashi clarifies that there's 2 types of oaths here. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Okay. Huh? Stick to a diet, right? Okay. Something else I want to point out? No. Let's go. Let's see the Gemara now. Gemara says, Kashid Rabbi Yehuda, but Rabbi Yehuda himself is self-contradictory. The Gemara says, and it's according to both opinions, because I have a Rabbi Yehuda in Rish Lakish Rish Lakish that doesn't fit with Rabbi Yehuda, and I have a Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yochanan that doesn't. It's like a three-way contradiction. So either Rish Lakish, according to Rish Lakish, straight to Rabbi Yehuda. We'll have to say that these are students of Rabbi Yehuda that are saying things over in his name, and that's how we ended up with these two different opinions of Rabbi Yehuda. There's a student saying over. Now, the way that I understand this, and I'm not sure if this is, but the way I understand this is that I heard Rabbi Herschel Schechter saying over from Rabbi Soloveitchik. He says that there's a lot of students of Rabbi Soloveitchik that say Rabbi Soloveitchik said this, and then others said no, Rabbi Soloveitchik said exactly the opposite. He said both, but in his learning he changed. He learned it once, 20 years later he learns it again. He says no, it can't be like this. He switched. So different students come out with different.
Let's go to this year.
Yeah, well, he was when he was alive. He was changing from his opinions this way, that way. Every year he changed what his, because he's learning it again. It comes out differently. This time I learned it. I come up with a different conclusion. So that must be that's my understanding of how do you have. In other words, I have a contradiction, Rabbi Yehuda. I say, oh, it's two students in the name of Rabbi Yehuda. So what? It's still a contradiction, Rabbi Yehuda. But no, Rabbi Yehuda, when he learned it like this, and then he learned it like that. So the student came out. The earlier student heard this, the later student heard that.
So in this case,
I don't know. We don't have that information.
could it just be that they understood it differently?
That could also be that they understood it differently. But does that help me? Then one of them is wrong. One of them is wrong. I'm not saying one of them is wrong. I'm saying that they're both right. They each heard correctly from Rabbi Yehuda.
Everyone's right. Just
Yeah, but to say that someone misunderstood it.
no, they were both right.
What did Rabbi Yehuda mean?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, so then one of them misunderstood. No, so I'm saying that no one misunderstood. Okay, what do we do with Rabbi Yochanan? Either Rabbi Yochanan like Kasha Hadidei Hadrabi. Rabbi Yochanan, we have an even better answer. Because this opinion of Lav Shem B'Maisa, there's no Malkus that Rabbi Yehuda didn't say on his own. He said in the name of Rabbi Yossi Glili. So Rabbi Yochanan was following Rabbi Yossi Glili for that, and he followed Rabbi Yehuda for Asra Safek. So it wasn't a problem. There's no contradiction because this was Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Yossi Glili. Rabbi Yehuda himself doesn't hold of that. So Rabbi Yehuda himself is perfect. Tanan Hasan learned over there. Someone doesn't shoo away the mother bird before taking the either the young or the eggs, right? You have to shoo away the mother bird. He didn't do that. He takes the mother. He takes the whole thing. You're not supposed to do that. So what the pasuk actually says? Don't take the mother with the children. Shalach to shalach. You should send away the mother. It's interesting. Shalach to shalach, it says after lesikachem alabanim. It sounds like it's a rectification of. So okay, you took the whole thing. Okay, so now send her away now. It sounds like a rectification, but the truth is that it's really meant to say, don't do this. Rather, you should have sent her away from before, right? Even though it's written afterwards, but it means don't do this. Send her away, not send her away after. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda says, like, you get Malkus for that. There's no reason to send her away now because that positive act, maybe you should send her away now, but it doesn't matter because that sending her away now is not a law. It's not a assay that comes after the law. That's an assay that came before the law. And remember, we had that opinion before that an assay that comes before the law, positive it comes before, is not really a lavanitic assay because it could have been fulfilled before. So according to this, Rabbi Yehuda says there's malchus for this. It's not a lavanitic assay. The Chacham say mishalech vein alaika. The Chacham say no, it is a lavanitic assay. The fact that it says it afterwards means that after you take don't do it. And if you did shalach to shalach, you send away the mother bird. So you have it. So you send away the mother bird, and you've rectified the negative prohibition. It's a lavanitic assay. You just send away the mother bird now. Zaklal. Here's the rule. Kol mitzvah say sheish b'kum maseh ain't chayav and allowed. Any mitzvah say that has a follow-up, you're not chayav. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, I don't accept the chachamim fully, except anu ein lanu ela zois v'dacharis. The only way that I can have that this is correct is in this specific case plus one other case. Now, this is very important, these words, because that's going to be the rest of the Gemara that we're learning is going to be this statement of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says that I can only find it possible in this case plus another case. Now, the way it's possible in this case that see, Rabbi Yochanan held another opinion that we had earlier, that the only way to violate the negative prohibition that has a positive follow-up, is if you negate the positive by doing an action, to negate it 100%. So for example, here, he takes the mother together with the children, together with the young, which he was not allowed to do. And then he, instead of sending away the mother bird, he slaughters the mother bird. So now he actively negated ever fulfilling the positive. So now there would be Malkus. So anu ein lanu, for us, the only way that there would be Malkus would be by a lavanitic essay. Is only by this case where you're able to negate it 100% by shechting the mother bird. Now you can't send it away, and then there's Malkus. And by the chest, there's one other case. Amalei Rabbi Lazar, Heicha. Rabbi Lazar says, where's that other case? Okay, Rabbi Lazar is a student of Rabbi Yochanan. Amalei, Rabbi Yochanan says, go figure it out. Like a riddle. So, Nafak, he goes out, Dak Bashkach, he finds the following case. The Tanya was started in a brisa, Aina Shagir. Let's say someone that raped a girl, we had this case earlier, and then he divorced, and then so the rule is he has to stay married to her the rest of his life, but he divorced her. He violated the negative prohibition. Im Yisrael, who, if it's a Jewish person, machzer ve'ena like it. So he rectifies it by marrying her back, and he doesn't get malchus. As long as she doesn't get married to anyone else in the interim, he can marry her back. And there's no, he fixed the problem. You're marrying her back. Right? Right? You can't send her away. So he fixes it by marrying her back. However, if he's a kayin like Avena Machzer, then he can't. He's a kayin, he can't marry her back. Okay. Now, that's only a kayin gadol. It's a regular kayin can.
Wouldn't be able to.
A kayin gadol wouldn't be able to resolve. I don't know what we would do with the kayin gadol. That sounds like the Gemara Yavamas. Hanicha laman the tani kima v'lekima. No, so 1 second. How over here would there be a lav nitik lesi? How would this case ever be a case of malchus if it's Yisrael? You can marry her back. So how would it be? So if you say like Rish Lakish holds that if you don't perform the action immediately, then you get malchus. We give you an opportunity to perform the action, the positive command. If you don't, then there's malchus. Kima v'lei kima. He didn't fulfill it, so okay, we give him malchus. But according to the opinion that says you have to negate ever fulfilling it. Okay, so when it comes to shiluach hakein, sending away the mother bird, we have a case where you can negate it. You shech the mother bird. The Gemara doesn't spell it out, but that's obviously what the Gemara means. When it comes to a rape, how does he negate ever marrying her back? Ida kata, what does he do? Kill her? Can't marry her back if he kills her. So he's still not going to get malchus. Why? Because kamle b'derabmine. Because he gets the bigger punishment, which is capital punishment because he killed her. It's a crazy, what's going on over here. He rapes her, and he marries her. He divorces her. He's not getting lashes for divorcing her because he could rectify it. But we're saying no, he's going to get lashes because he negates ever rectifying it. How does he negate that? because he kills her. Yeah,
What-
Dr. Steiner.
I have a question going back to Shiluach HaKan. The answer doesn't make sense because the way you're saying it, you're saying euthanasia is okay to get rid of the pain of the mother. Because you're saying, remember, the whole reason for Shiluach HaKan is not to cause pain to the mother, that you're taking her children right in front of her. So therefore, we send her away first, then take the eggs. All right? But you're saying,
Yeah.
or your initial interpretation was, oh, but you can afterwards, you go shech the mother. So saying, oh, she's in pain, let's euthanize her. I don't think that's what they meant. I think they meant that
No,
if you were
that's
to shech the mother before you took the eggs, then you're not over Shiluach HaKan, even though you weren't Mishaleach HaKan, because it doesn't make sense otherwise.
no. I'm not going to be able to explain it according to the logic, according to that. But I just need to clarify that you take the mother and the young. You took everyone together. You weren't supposed to do that. You're
Right.
supposed to send away the mother before you take the young. Okay, now, you didn't. You took everyone. So now the way of rectifying is we send away the mother now. But if you shech the mother, then you can never send it. You can never send away the mother now. So then you ruin it. And then the fact that there was a violation before is now negated, and you get Makkos for that one, for that violation before.
Okay, technical loophole. I just
Yeah.
don't like
Well,
the story. Okay, I'll let it go. All right, bye.
What's the difference though? Why does the Gemara have to say the case that he married her and that he divorced her? Doesn't he get Malchus if he doesn't marry her in the first
No. But by the rape there's no Makkos. He just has to marry.
If he doesn't marry her, what does he get?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. That's
I
what
don't
I'm
know.
asking.
I'm not sure.
Like,
I don't know.
why
I
does
don't
it
know.
have to say that
I
he
don't know. It
married
says
her and
Allah
then he
says he has to
divorced her?
marry. I'm not sure. So he marries her and then he divorces her. So it says loy sucha l'shalcha. You can't send her away. He violated that loy sucha l'shalcha. You can't send her away. So if he doesn't marry her, then he's neglecting the positive. There's no malchus there. Here we're discussing the malchus. He does a negative prohibition. He sent her. He divorced her. So now we're saying, but there still could be malchus. Rabbi Yochanan says there's another case where there could be malchus, and we think that Rabbi Lazar thinks it's this case. So it's come leib d'Rabbanan. He can't remarry her because she got married to someone else in the middle. Okay, that's a good answer. Amarav says 1 second. You have to do an act. It has to be active, negating the positive command. When she gets married to someone else, that's not him, that's her. Isha b'sei shliach. Let's say this girl that was raped makes her rapist a shliach to accept the kedushin on her behalf from another person. So, okay, we're trying to make him an active person in making sure that he never married. It says, but it's still her that's doing that. She made him the shliach. There's different ways of learning this. But basically what she's doing here is she's rejecting ever going back to him. That's one of the pshat. Marrying someone else, it means you can. So it's her that's doing that. Eli shavisi shliach, and if she doesn't make him shliach, kol kaminei. So does he have the rights to do that? To accept kedushin from someone? She never made him an agent to accept. But like what he did was nothing. So what are you saying over here? We're looking for a case where he does an act where he can never marry her back, and therefore he's going to get malchus. He took an oath in public; he's never going to marry her. Well, there's one opinion that says he never annul an oath that he took in public. But there's another opinion that says you can annul it. What are you going to say about that? It says the midir al das rabim. Not that you took the oath in public, you took the oath with the consensus of the public, saying that only if everyone agrees can I annul it, and no one's ever going to agree. So you can't get everyone together to consensus. So therefore, it can't be annulled. Damar Meimar Hilchasa Meimar said the halacha is neder should a vow that was taken in public. Yesh la'afar, you can annul it. But al das rabim, if it's with the consensus of everyone, then ain't la'afar. Okay, suleka. That's the only case that you can find where there's going to be lashes. But we have these other cases. Gezel, let's see, someone stole. Says don't steal. But it says you should return it. Okay, and what did you do? You destroyed it. You burnt it. Can't return it. Mashkin, it says about taking a collateral. You're not allowed to force your way in to take a collateral. But it says Hashiv Tashivla, you have to return it to him. However, when the sun comes up, right? Yeah, the collateral that has to be returned by morning. And it's possible where he actually actively does a way of not returning it because he burns it, he destroys it, or something like that. It says Hassam, given the Chai B'Tashlum, and like the Mishalim over there, it's different because over there, even though he didn't act to ever returning it, but it turns into a debt, and he just owes the money. So he still has a way of rectifying by paying the value. But Reb Zera has a question. But let's say the mashkin of a ger, we were supposed to return it, but the ger died. And you can't tell me that you return it to the inheritors because maybe there were no inheritors. There's no way of ever returning this. That's if he steals. The mashkin says Hassam Gaver Batashluminum. Over there, he didn't do an act to negate it. Yeah, he stole it, he destroyed it, but he still owes it. And then when he dies, that's not his action. That's Shibud the Geru, the Kapaka. But that's just the debt of the ger just dissipated, right? Just but what about Peya? Pass. Okay. I don't know if I can rush through this. Let me try. Yeah, is everyone dominating in the 6:30? I should stop.
Oh,
We'll leave it at Peya.
We just started.
We'll leave it at Peya. I'll have to go back to that. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.